Hi everyone, this is Valeria again, and this week I will be going over how to pronounce the words of certain ENT procedures that are commonly done. So, otoscopy is pronounced otoscopia, otoscopia. Laryngoscopy is pronounced laryngoscopia, laryngoscopia. Nasal endoscopy is endoscopia nasal, endoscopia nasal, or endoscopia nasal. Sometimes when we say it fast, we don't really emphasize that P as much, but just to each their own. But endoscopia is a common word for endoscopy in general, and you can use it in different scenarios throughout any other specialty. So, something that you can use. Ear tube placement is said in a few different ways because you can either insert the ear tube in Spanish or the way that you would describe it, or you would place the ear tube. And so, because of these two different verbs that can be used, you can say it a different way. Before I do that and do that complete phrase, though, I do want to also mention that ear tube in general is said in a few ways. For instance, you can say tubo auditivo, which is auditory tube, or tubo de ventilación. And tubo de ventilación means a ventilation tube. I've heard it in two different ways, and they all mean the same thing. So, if to say ear tube placement, you can say colocación del tubo auditivo or colocación del tubo de ventilación. Or you can say inserción del tubo auditivo or inserción del tubo de ventilación. Inserción del tubo de ventilación. Tympanostomy is the common or the medical way of saying ear tube placement, and there's also a word for this in Spanish, is tympanostomía. Tympanostomía. Uh, like in English, you can say this to the patient, but they might not understand exactly what it is. But I just still wanted to give that to you. Audiogram is pronounced as audiograma. Audiograma. Another thing I wanted to include was to say auditory range. This is because it's something that I did see some interpreters struggle with a little bit because it's not very common in everyday language. But whenever we want to describe a specific range of speech or sound, we say rango auditivo. Again, that is rango auditivo. You can also say rango de frecuencias, and it's a range of frequencies, is a direct translation. Again, that is rango de frecuencias. Tuning fork is diapason. Again, that is diapason. I recommend saying this a little bit faster. I find it that saying the vowels faster tends to be easier than saying it a bit slower. That's just a suggestion if you want to practice word phrase by phrase or syllable by syllable. Just a thing. But just a little thing that might help you in the future. Another thing is the removal of cerumen or earwax. You can either say elimination of earwax or extraction of earwax. So you can either say extracción de cerumen or eliminación de cerumen. Eliminación de cerumen. Cerumen is or cerumen is something that people do understand sometimes, but if people look at you funny and they don't know what it is, earwax in Spanish is also cera de oído, or you can say cerilla. Um, that means the same thing. Another thing that I've seen in clinic very often is the irrigator and use irrigation in order to clean out the ear. You can use irrigación to describe this. However, it doesn't really. Irrigación is like irrigation in your park or the way that you would use sprinklers. So people might look at you a bit funny when saying that. So I also gave you all limpieza de oído. Limpieza de oído, which is just cleaning out your ear in case you might need it. Great. So I hope that helps. And I hope you continue to enjoy these weekly Chautauqua Medical Spanish videos.